Have you ever watched someone destroy their own life in under 60 seconds? Picture this. A packed diner in Austin, Texas. Friday night crowd. Laughter bouncing off the walls. And in the center of it all, a phone camera pointed at a young woman whose face is turning red. Her boyfriend is laughing, loud, performing, mocking everything about her, her clothes, her job, her quiet personality, all for the people watching through a screen. The room grows uncomfortable. Forks stop midair. Conversations die down, but he doesn't notice. He's too busy chasing likes. And then he says it, the line that will haunt him forever. Honestly, babe, you're lucky someone like me even dates you. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Until an elderly man wearing a faded veteran's cap stands up from across the room, looks this influencer dead in the eye, and says, "Son, you have no idea who she is." What happened next in that Austin diner would end one person's career and reveal another's hidden legacy. But first, drop a comment. Have you ever witnessed someone publicly humiliate their partner? Because what you're about to hear is a masterclass in karma. To understand how badly Carter Venn miscalculated that night, you need to know who he was 3 hours earlier. Carter had 150,000 followers. Not massive by influencer standards, but enough to make him believe he mattered. His content? Prank videos. The kind that started harmless. Surprising friends, fake lottery tickets, but slowly morphed into something darker, meaner, because Carter discovered something the algorithm loved. Controversy equals views, and views equal money. His comment section would occasionally push back. Dude, too far. This isn't funny anymore. But for every concerned viewer, 10 more would spam laughing emojis. So Carter kept pushing boundaries. After all, if people were watching, he was winning, right? Then there was Alina Ward, 27 years old, elementary art teacher. The kind of person who wore cardigans with paint stains she stopped trying to wash out. She taught kids to see the world in colors and shapes, to express feelings they didn't have words for yet. And every Saturday for the past 3 years, she volunteered at the local community center, running art therapy sessions. She'd met Carter 8 months ago at a coffee shop. He was charming off camera, funny, attentive, interested in her stories. She noticed the difference between his private self and his online persona, but she believed people could grow, that he'd eventually see there was more to life than viral moments. That Friday, Alina was exhausted. A week of teaching 23 energetic 8-year-olds, grading projects, preparing for spring art show. When Carter texted, "Meet me at Lou's Diner, I miss you," she smiled. Finally, a quiet date night. Just them. She had no idea he'd invited his camera instead of his heart. When Alina walked into Lou's Diner, she was expecting comfort food and conversation. What she got was a performance she never auditioned for. She spotted Carter in a corner booth, phone already propped up on the table, recording. She noticed but didn't question it. He always recorded something. Maybe he was just capturing the vibe, she thought. She slid into the seat across from him, genuinely happy to see him. "Hey," she said, reaching for his hand. He pulled back, grinning at the camera. "Whoa, let me get a good look at you first." Alina laughed nervously. "What? Couldn't dress up a little? I mean, we're in public." His tone was playful, but his eyes were on the screen, watching himself perform. Around them, other diners started noticing. A few recognized Carter. One young guy nudged his friend, pointing. Carter's energy shifted. He had an audience now. Time to deliver. "So, babe, tell everyone what you do," he said, zooming the camera toward her. "I'm an art teacher." "She finger paints with kids," Carter interrupted, laughing. "That's her whole career. Meanwhile, I'm out here teaching millions to laugh." Alina's smile faltered. "Carter, I actually teach them to express themselves." With crayons, he cut in again, playing to the camera. "Look at her hands, guys. Paint stains she can't even wash off. Very professional." A waitress approached their table, her expression uncertain. Carter waved her off without looking. The diner was growing quieter now. People weren't just glancing anymore, they were watching. Uncomfortable, But Carter was too locked into performance to read the room. He pointed at her cardigan. Got that at Goodwill, right? Thrift store chic. Very on-brand for someone who thinks finger painting is a skill. Can we just eat? Alina's voice was barely above a whisper. See, this is what I deal with. Carter announced his phone. A girlfriend who thinks making construction paper collages matters more than actual influence. No Instagram. No followers. Just small. A fork clattered onto a plate somewhere in the diner. That was the only sound. If this is making your blood boil, wait until you hear what happens next. Hit that like button if you believe respect matters more than clout, because Carter was about to cross a line he couldn't uncross. Carter leaned back in the booth, arms spread wide, performing confidence. He looked directly into the camera and delivered what he thought would be his viral moment. Honestly, babe, you're lucky someone like me even dates you. He grinned, waited for her reaction. Content gold, he thought. Alina didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just stared down at the table, her hands folded in her lap, and went completely still. The diner went silent. Not quiet, silent. Like someone had pressed pause on the entire world. A businessman at the counter looked disgusted. A young couple 2 booths over were shaking their heads. The waitress stood frozen by the kitchen, unsure whether to intervene. Carter's smile flickered. This wasn't the reaction he expected. It was the playful pushback, the pretend outrage that he could spin into just joking around. Instead, he got nothing, just his girlfriend staring at a table, while an entire restaurant watched him. He tried recovering. Come on, it's just a joke. You know I'm kidding. Alina's voice cut through, barely audible but steady. Is it? 2 words. That's all she said. But they landed like a gavel. Carter opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, something unexpected happened. In that suffocating silence, Carter made a critical mistake. He assumed no one there knew who Alina really was. He assumed wrong, because 3 tables away sat someone who recognized her immediately. The elderly man stood slowly, his chair scraping against the floor. He wore a worn veteran's cap, and weather hands gripped the edge of his table as he steadied himself. Everyone turned to look. He walked toward Carter and Alina's booth with deliberate steps. Carter looked up, annoyed. Can I help you, sir? The veteran ignored him completely. His eyes were fixed only on Alina. Miss Ward, he said gently, I didn't know you'd be here tonight. Alina looked up, surprise crossing her face. Recognition followed. Mr. Patterson? He nodded, then turned to Carter. The warmth in his voice vanished, replaced with steel. Son, you have no idea who she is, do you? Carter blinked, confused. She's my girlfriend? She's the woman who saved my granddaughter's life. The diner, already silent, somehow became quieter. Every single person was listening now. Carter's smirk vanished. What are you talking about? Mr. Patterson didn't break eye contact. My granddaughter, Sarah, 19 years old, Army veteran. She came back from her deployment and couldn't speak about what she'd seen. Wouldn't leave her room. Stopped eating. We thought we were going to lose her. He paused, his voice thickening. Miss Ward here runs a volunteer art therapy program at the VA Center. Every Saturday morning for 6 months, she sat with Sarah, teaching her to paint. Not just pictures, her nightmares, her fears, the things she couldn't say out loud. She taught my granddaughter that pain could become something beautiful. Alina's eyes were glistening, but she stayed quiet. Sarah's studying art therapy in college now. Mr. Patterson continued. Because of her, because this woman, who you just mocked in front of all these people, spent hundreds of hours helping broken veterans find their voices again. He leaned closer to Carter. That boring work you just made fun of? It's why my granddaughter is still alive. Drop a comment if you've ever known someone whose quiet work changed lives, because Mr. Patterson wasn't the only one listening to Carter's cruelty. A young woman at the counter pulled out her phone, but she wasn't opening Carter's channel. She was recording him, not to support him, to document his humiliation. Carter noticed. His face went pale. Wait, don't. Too late. The waitress stepped forward, her voice shaking slightly but determined. She organized a fundraiser that saved our community center. Last year, we were about to shut down. A middle-aged woman from another table stood up. She taught my autistic brother to communicate through painting when speech therapy failed. He's 12 now and won't stop drawing. It's the only way we understand him. Another voice. She volunteers at the Children's Hospital. My daughter had leukemia. She looked forward to Miss Ward's visits more than anything. Still has the watercolor they made together hanging in her room. Story after story, person after person. The diner became a chorus of testimonies about a woman who'd never asked for recognition. People Carter never looked at, never considered, all knowing exactly who Alina was. Carter tried salvaging the moment. Look, I was just joking around. Everyone knows I didn't mean. Mr. Patterson cut him off. The only joke here, son, is thinking followers make you important. More phones came out. 6, 7, 10 people recording Carter now. And his own phone? Still running. Still capturing every second of his unraveling. Alina stood quietly. She gathered her coat, slung her bag over her shoulder, and looked at Carter for what would be the last time. She wasn't angry, just sad. I hoped you'd see me as more than content eventually. She turned to Mr. Patterson, touched his arm gently. Thank you. Please tell Sarah I said hello. Then she walked toward the exit. Carter called after her, Alina, wait. But she didn't turn around, didn't pause, just pushed through the door and disappeared into the Austin night. Carter sat alone, surrounded by silent judgment and recording phones. His own video still running, capturing his defeat in high definition. He reached for his phone and stopped the recording. But it didn't matter. The damage was already uploading. Within 2 hours, Carter's world crumbled. The diner videos hit social media from a dozen angles simultaneously. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit. Someone had even saved Carter's original footage before he could delete it, and the contrast was devastating. His version showed mockery and cruelty. Their version showed consequences and truth. The comments flooded in. This is what happens when you treat people like props. Imagine being so desperate for views you humiliate someone who actually matters. Carter's out here with 150K followers. Alina changed lives with 0 posts. Who's really winning? His follower count became a countdown. 150,000, 140,000, 120,000. Dropping by the minute, former fans dug to his old content, finding patterns they'd ignored before. The pranks that were always at someone else's expense. The jokes that punched down. The comments he deleted from people saying, too far. Within 48 hours, #RespectAlina was trending. News outlets picked it up. Influencers' cruel prank backfired spectacularly. Teachers' secret volunteer work revealed after public humiliation. The viral video that shows what real influence looks like. Carter posted an apology video, clearly scripted, obviously insincere. I didn't know about her volunteer work. If I'd known, the internet wasn't buying it. That's the problem. One comment read with 200,000 likes, you should treat everyone with respect, not just people you know are important. His sponsorships vanished overnight. For companies dropped him before he could send damage control emails. His agent stopped returning calls. By the end of the week, Carter's follower count had dropped to 80,000. He disabled comments, then made his account private, then disappeared entirely. Meanwhile, something else was happening. Local news interviewed Mr. Patterson. The VA Center released a statement about Alina's 3-year volunteer record. 47 families, veterans, children, community members shared their stories about her impact. The Children's Hospital posted photos from her art sessions. Her elementary school principal gave an interview. She's never once mentioned any of this work. That's exactly who she is. Donations to the VA Art Therapy Program increased by 400%. 12 new volunteers signed up. A local foundation offered a fund expansion to 3 more cities. Carter thought influence meant follower counts. Alina proved it meant change lives. If this story touched you, hit subscribe. We share stories about real people who make quiet differences every single day. Because what happened next is what defines true character. Monday morning arrived. News vans waited outside Alina's school. She declined every interview request. All of them. Her principal asked if she wanted to address the situation with her students. They've seen the news. They're so proud of you. Alina smiled gently. They already know I love art. That's enough. She walked into her classroom that morning exactly as she always did. Cardigan, paint-stained fingers, coffee mug with a chipped handle. Her students had made cards, messy, beautiful, heartfelt. She thanked them, redirected to their watercolor project, and continued teaching. Life went on, exactly as before. The school district released a single statement on her behalf. I don't do this work for recognition. I do it because art heals. That hasn't changed. And it hadn't. Saturday morning, she showed up at the VA Center at 9 a.m., just like always. Set up easels, prepared canvases, welcomed veterans with warm smiles and gentle encouragement. No cameras, no posts, no performance. Just work that mattered. The donations kept flowing. New volunteers kept coming. Her impact multiplied because of Carter's cruelty, but Alina refused to let someone else's mistake become her identity. Her students remained proud. The community remained grateful. And Alina remained exactly who she'd always been. Carter's name faded from feeds and timelines. But Alina's work, that continued changing lives, one quiet Saturday at a time. She refused to let someone else's cruelty define her story. And in doing so, she taught one final lesson that no algorithm could measure. So what did we learn from that night in Austin? That true influence isn't measured in followers. It's measured in changed lives. Carter had an audience. Alina had impact. One entertained. The other transformed. Think about it. Carter spent years building a platform, chasing metrics, optimizing content for engagement. And in 60 seconds, it all collapsed. Because he forgot that people aren't content. They're human beings deserving respect, regardless of their follower count. Alina spent years volunteering in silence, never posting, never promoting, never performing. And when her story finally emerged, it revealed something the internet desperately needed to see. Character isn't built through curation. It's built through consistency. Here's what that diner taught us about real influence. Public platforms don't equal private worth. You can have millions of followers and zero impact. You can have 0 followers and change the world. The screen isn't the measure. Character reveals itself under pressure. When Carter was confronted, he deflected and disappeared. When Alina was humiliated, she remained graceful and returned to work. Crisis doesn't build character. It reveals it. The world is smaller than you think. You never know who's watching. You never know whose life connects to the person standing next to you. Kindness creates invisible networks that show up when you least expect them. Cruelty burns bridges you didn't know you'd need. Real work doesn't require announcement. Alina never posted about the VA Center, never shared her hospital visits, never turned her service into content. She just did the work, for years, because it mattered, and when the truth came out, it spoke louder than any carefully crafted caption ever could. So here's the question this story should make you ask. How many Alinas exist around you right now? Making differences no one's filming. Teachers staying late to help struggling students. Volunteers at shelters. Neighbors checking on the elderly. People doing beautiful, transformative work that'll never trend. But that's changing lives anyway. They're not in your feed. They're not chasing virality. But they're building the world worth living in. Carter learned the hardest lesson possible. You can curate an image, but you can't fake integrity. When the camera stops rolling, when the followers disappear, when the likes dry up, who are you? What have you actually built? And who's better because you existed? Those are the questions that matter. If this story reminded you that real influence is built through service, not spectacle, subscribe to Earthly Tales. We find stories about people who prove that the best kind of impact doesn't need a spotlight. Share this with someone who quietly makes a difference. The teacher who changed your life. The volunteer who showed up when no one was watching. the person doing beautiful work that'll never go viral. And comment below, who's the Alina in your life? Let's celebrate them. Let's make sure they know their work matters, not because it trends, but because it transforms. Because the best stories aren't always the loudest ones. Sometimes they're painted in silence.